Next, I'm going to try to straighten out this bracket that I hit with the tractor and bent. So first step, I think I'm going to brace it and get some clamps on it. If that doesn't work, I'll bring out a sledgehammer. That clamp pressure alone was enough to pull it back slightly, but I'm going to persuade it a little bit more. Alright, let's see what this looks like. Well, that's more than a bit better. So that is straight, which is pretty awesome. I was able to bend it back, maintain the right gap. Honestly, you'd never know that it was crooked. Except now I've moved it like a half an inch sideways. So we'll have to straighten this up because it's definitely putting pressure on the string line. But I guess that's one step forward, or two steps forward and one step back. I have to put the string line back up so we can move that column back into position. But the batter board is buried, so shovel. With the string line back up, you can see that it is touching the bracket ever so slightly. So this, and it is hanging over it a little bit. So this will have to go back probably 1/4 of an inch. Also, you can see that it is a little bit twisted as a result of pounding on one side of it. Not a big deal. These brackets are a slight bit oversized, so you can actually get a little bit of wiggle room inside of them. But we'll try to move that back, get it into the exact spot.
Many minutes later.
I'm making up a few more penetrations for the slab. The first is to bring our solar energy, the high voltage DC that we're going to be generating, back into the barn, where we will then have it run to an inverter. The second is to run power from our main distribution box, which is in the barn, to our eventual house. So that'll be a 200 amp service, and I'm going to use the 2-inch conduit for both. Great, those two are done. Next one is a sewer pipe, but not for sewer. This is going to be a sleeve for propane, should we decide to ever run propane into the barn. When we did the water pipe, or the water sleeve, we used a 90-degree pipe, and ever since I've regretted it. I'm concerned having the water pipe bend at that tight of an angle. So for the propane pipe, we're doing 2 45s, and I'll space it apart maybe a foot or so we'll get a nice wide bend on this one. Here's the 3 we did today. Yeah, I like this 45, right? You can easily see a thick pipe, a 1-inch PEX, looping around. I ended up using a 16-inch piece in the center, and I think that looks pretty good. I think that'll do it for a late Saturday. Got a lot done. Still a lot more to do.
The next morning.
I'm going to slightly switch gears and see if I can get this sand pile in the middle of the pole barn removed. It's hot today, so I'm not really feeling like shoveling. So I'll try to use tractor for most of my work today. I've been having catching issues when trying to move the implements from the front of this tractor. The reason was that this quick attach was hanging really low and it was just holding on to the implement. So I got out here and I was able to tighten up the spring, shorten the shaft there, and in doing so pull it up nice and tight. I think that should resolve the catching issues. Having heavy equipment is awesome, but it's always maintenance, you know, and it's little stuff that happens all the time that you just have to keep on top of. This is no big deal, and I think this should fix it. All right, back to the task at hand. That looks better. Got the pile out of the pole barn there and kind of spread it out over this area. It was really low, so I think the sand will help build it up a little bit. Downside is it's gonna get really dusty. Later we'll have more gravel brought in and build all this area up a little better.
The next morning.
That'll do. Next, we're going to try to straighten the column that I hit with the tractor and then beat on with the sledgehammer. It's touching the string line pretty severely. In fact, it's about a ½ inch off on this corner and a ¼ inch off on this corner. So it's got some twist to it too. Probably because I was hitting it on one side and not the other. That board didn't withstand the sledge very well, did it? But the good news is I think we got this straightened up. We drove the tractor through one of these bays back and forth in order to fill in the hole for one of the other trenches. And I'm pretty sure we shifted these columns all over the place. We were right. This one is 5/8 of an inch off. That's way too much. Driving the tractor next to it definitely compacted the ground and pushed it around. So we're going to try to use the sledge again and see if we can move it 5/8 of an inch west. We are now 8 foot 3.5 inches.
8 3.5. Want to get it again?
No, let's measure the rest first. I think that's within the acceptable range. So let's measure the rest and we'll come back to that. Awesome, this row is done. The sledgehammer worked a heck of a lot better than the tractor in fine tuning. So the tractor, you flex ever so slightly and you've moved the column like an inch. The sledge is 1/16 of an inch increments, which is really nice. So now this whole row has every bay within 1/8 of an inch of theoretical, which is more than acceptable. The brackets themselves have like 3/16 of wiggle room, so the post should fit there with theoretical length girts connecting them, and we should be absolutely golden all the way up to the trusses. With all those measurements confirmed, we can remove the rest of the batter boards. That's super exciting for us. Those batter boards have been up now for 2 months?
Too long.
3 months?
3 months, yeah.
God, this has taken us a long time. The next thing on my to-do list is to install the penetrations, but I cannot even comprehend shoveling sand in this heat. So instead, I'm going to take advantage of the batter boards being gone, and I'm going to drive the tractor around and try to level out some of the area around the barn. That's as much tractoring work as I can really do at this time. Eventually, I'll move all this topsoil back and grade it nicely up against the barn. But for now, we have too much work to do around the grade board. Next step, I'm just going to take a rake and pull some of the sand away from the grade board. Clearly, I can't get too close with the tractor, so handwork is always required. So this looks nice, I think. Basically, we've smoothed out all around the exterior of the pole barn and fully exposed the grade board as we go around. This will help when we pour. We'll be able to shore up these grade boards. You may know they bend quite a bit, and the weight of concrete will really bend them. So we're going to have to stake them in and really support them.